Want to learn how to make a t-shirt dress using a shirt that you already own? Let me show you how easy it is. For this tutorial, you will need your fabric, a shirt that you already have, your measuring tape, a ruler, pins, a chalk, and a scissors to cut out your pattern. So you're going to fold your fabric in four, and then you will place your t-shirt on the fabric. And once you have it aligned, you're going to go to where your neck ends and where your shoulder begins, and you are going to use a ruler to create your line for the length that you want your sleeve to be. And we're going to do an all-in-one sleeve because we're not doing a sleeve separately. So that is what I am doing here, and I'm going to extend my line right to where my chest line begins, and I'm going to now put my armhole opening, which is 9 inches for me. For you, it may be more, it may be less. And now I'm going to curve that into my chest line so I don't have a sharp line. Once you have done that, you need to add seam allowances. I'm going to add 1 inch because I don't want my dress to be super tight. And I'm going to do that until I get to the end of my dress, and make sure you do the same thing once you are sewing. So once you have done that, you need to put your points for where your front neck begins and where your back neck begins, because you will use them later. So we don't need her anymore, so you put your shirt away, and now I'm going to put in my front and my back neckline. And I'm using my freehand, but you can use a French curve for this. Next, I'm just going to extend the line straight to the end. And now you are ready to cut out your pattern. Okay, so when you cut out your pattern, make sure that you cut out the back before you cut out the front. Now we're going to move the back so that we can finish cutting out the front neckline. So let's do that now. Okay, so you should have 2 pattern pieces, both cut on the fold, one for the front and one for the back. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out my pockets. So I'm going to align my fabric together, and this is scraps at this point. I'm going to measure down about between 10 and 12 inches so that I will have a decent size for my pockets. And you're going to put them all together so that you can make sure that all of your pocket pieces are the same, and you should have 4 pieces. So that is what I am doing now. So you do the same for your pocket pieces. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to measure how far down I want my pocket to begin, and then I'm going to create my opening. For me, I'm going to use 6 inches. You can use as much as you want to use. It's your pocket, your choice. And so I'm going to now come in by 1/2 inch, and I'm going to measure. I'm going to put that same opening that I have, the 6 inches. I'm going to measure in 1/2 inch until I get to the end of that. Once I have done putting that in, I'm going to just draw a straight line, and that is going to be the line that I'm going to sew on for my pockets. I'm now going to put a notch just so that I can know where my pocket opening begins and ends. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my back and front pieces together, and now I'm going to figure out where I want my pocket to begin. And I'm going to use between 9 and 11 inches. So I'm just making sure that my fabric is together and everything aligns properly. And now I'm going to measure down to where I want my opening to be, and I'm going to place a notch there so that I can know where to put my pockets. So I'm now separating my pockets, and I'm going to pin my pocket right where that notch begins, and Once you place your notch there, it'll be easier for you to know where to put your pockets. And I'm just going to pin this in place for both of my pocket pieces. And then I'm going to stitch right where I placed that those 2 marks for my opening. I'm going to stitch right. Well, before I do that, I'm going to come down 1 inch, and then I'm going to make sure that my opening is still 6 inches, and then I'm going to do that for both sides. So you can do the same for your pockets as well. And then where you place that 1/2 inch, make sure that the line is visible so that you can know where to sew. So I'm going to do the same for the next pocket. So I came down 1 inch, and then I came down 6 inches for my opening, and then I'm going to come in by a 1/2 inch, and then I'm going to draw a straight line to connect that line, and that is the line that I will use to sew on. So I'm going to sew between where the 1 inch starts and down until I get to the end, and I'm going to do the same for both of them. So once I'm done with that, I'm going to pin my shoulder seams, and I'm going to do that for both of my shoulders. And once I'm done with that, I'm going to take it to my sewing machine, and I will sew the pockets first, and then once I sew the pockets, then I will sew my shoulder seams. So let me continue to pin, and then I will tell you what to do next. Okay, so once I have finished pinning everything, I'm going to take this to my machine and sew the pocket. So let's do that now. Okay, so once you have finished sewing your pocket, where your 1/2 inch ends, you're going to put a notch there. You're going to cut close to the seam but not through it, and you are going to turn it over, and then you are going to stitch very close to the edge of the place that we just stitched. So we're going to edge stitch, and this will make sense to you in a little bit. So I'm just now making sure that everything is straight, there's no bulge, and everything, my seam is not coming over, but I'm making sure to turn it over so that it's to the bottom rather than being to the top. So I'm going to pin that, and once I'm done pinning that, I'm going to do the same for the other side, and then I'm going to take it to my machine and edge stitch. So let's do that now. If this is what you should have, I will do the same for the next pocket now. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to place the other piece of the pocket, and I'm going to put them together, and I'm going to pin them down. And once I have done pinning them down, I'm going to stitch I'm going to use a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and I'm going to stitch all around the pocket. And I'm going to do that for both of my pocket pieces. And then once I'm done with that, I will show you the next step. So you're going to take it to the machine and finish the pockets now. Now that you have both of your pockets finished, you're going to now go to the machine and stitch both of your shoulder seams. So let's do that now. Okay, so the next thing you're going to do is you're going to finish your neckline, and to do this you are going to just turn it over a 1/2 inch, and then you are going to pin it all down, and then you're going to take it to your machine and you're going to sew it down. So let's do that. Okay, so what we are going to do now is pin both of our side seams and then take it to the machine and sew them down. Now that I have finished sewing down my side seams, I'm going to try on my dress and make any adjustments. So now we are in the final stages of finishing the dress, and all you have to do is hem your sleeve and the bottom of your dress. So turn it over a 1/2 inch, pin it down, and then take it to the machine and sew them. Remember to backstitch at the beginning and at the end. Now the dress is complete, so let me show you the final result.